Ahí los vamos a montar, mi gente.
Guys, we're going to load up in just a minute. When we do, there's steps all around here. When we call your name, watch your step. We don't want anybody to fall. Please have your tickets out when I call your name. Thank you for your attention.
Bueno, mi gente, nos encontramos Winter Park aquí en Orlando, en donde vamos a hacer un corrido en lancha. Nos van a llevar por ahí en el lago, como pueden ver allá. Estamos aquí, vamos a comprar las entradas y vamos a ver qué se ve. Estamos bajando. Vamos a ver qué se ve por ahí. Mira el palillo. Ahí la espera. Ahí es donde se compran las entradas, mi gente. Ya compramos la de nosotros. Estamos esperando la embarcación.
Ask that you guys remain seated at all times. Keep your hands inside of the boat. And we do have life jackets underneath the seat in case of an emergency. Well, welcome aboard. My name's Ned. I'll be your skipper for the next 3.5 hours. What? Oh, you are listening. Okay. A 3-hour tour. The weather started getting rough. The tiny ship was low. If not for the merge up skipper, the pontoon would be low. Let's see that. Oh, Lake Brantley. Yeah, these are public lakes, so they're open to the public, and there's public access on the next lake that we're going to go by. But in Winter Park, lots of parks, gardens, museums, and historic homes. This place right here on the right checks all 4 of those boxes. The Alvin Pelagic Sculpture Garden and Museum has 200 sculptures scattered throughout the grounds, and also located inside the museum. The Capon House, this little gray home right here, located on the grounds as well. They use this for weddings, receptions, and special corporate events. But the Capon House started out on the other side of Lake Osceola. And in 2012, the Preservation Society moved it from one side of the lake to the other side of the lake. Now, how they did that? Well, it wasn't the easiest way possible, but they got it done. And when we come through the other side, I'll show you the original location and tell you how they got it from point A to point B. But check out this old logging canal. How cool is this? Dug out by the lumber industry in the late 1800s. They were floating logs over to a sawmill that was located on Lake Virginia. But going into this, it kind of looks like a Disney jungle ride right here. This is where you guys go, ooh, and then a little, You are absolutely right. This was here since 1938. So it's not unlikely that Walt Disney came to Winter Park, saw the Winter Park boat tour, and got inspired for the Disney jungle ride. They've been doing these tours since 1938, so well before Disney was established in 1970 when they broke ground. Uh-oh. It is. These are spring-fed lakes. If you look down, you can see the bottom. I'm the last one. You guys duck your heads? Yeah, man. We'll see you in a little bit. Everybody understood the assignment?
Yes.
Okay, good. Because I've got ponchos, not Band-Aids. But if you look down, like you were saying, the water's super clean. Now, these are spring-fed lakes, but Winter Park is very proactive. They have an entire lakes division that's devoted to keeping the water as clean and as clear as possible. Now, they do this with a couple of different chemicals. One of them, they lay down on the bottom and dissolve muck, and that helps keep the water super clear. The other one, they spray on top, and it kills the weeds that aren't native. But the other, oh look, an alligator right here on the ground, on the, statue of an alligator. Skipper Ned. Alright, this is Lake Virginia right here. Home to Rollins College. Oh look, there's an osprey with something, I don't know. Here's a couple of paddle boarders. Florida native. Looks like the female variety. Hello, hello. All right, Rollins College over here. We're gonna go check out the Genius Peninsula.
Viendo las casas de los ricos.
I love how you're picking up on that, and that is going to become relevant when we talk about this house. This home was originally built in 1925 as the Winter Park Businessmen's Club. That only lasted a few years until the wives sold it to Rollins College. It remained in their ownership up until the early 70s. Rollins sold it back to private students. But I like to come out here where the pool is, because prior to that pool being built, right where we are now was a 3-story diving tower until the Second World War. After that, they tore it down and they built the first pool. But diving was a huge thing, and they had a 3-story tower out here. Out here. So they had to swim to the diving tower. Now, if you see those orange pylons, that's actually a walking trail right there, and it's the old dinky rail line that came in from Orlando. It wrapped around the perimeter of Virginia before stopping at the sawmill. When they closed that sawmill, the city eventually ripped up the rails, and they built this beautiful walking trail that's open to residents and visitors alike. Really pretty. It goes underneath these bald cypress trees. They lose all their foliage in the winter. But you've got student housing on one side, Lake Virginia on the other side. Now with your room, board, and tuition, Rollins runs about $74,000 a year. Mostly known for their international the right and the sawmill right in the middle of all of it. But when they condemned the property and closed it, it was the Rotary Club that bought it and then converted it to a public park. That first dock is actually a fishing dock, and right off on the left there, some of the best bass fishing in Winter Park. A little designated swim zone. The city tests that water quality every single week to make sure all the values are within an acceptable range. If they're not, they post signs right on those green billboards right there. Typically, this would only happen if we had multiple days of heavy rain and then all that associated runoff that comes with it. But the next area is a free launch if you have a non-motorized vessel. If you have a jet ski or a boat, the city has ramps here that you can use for a very small fee. The Popo have a boathouse right here, so you better behave yourself. You like that, didn't you?
You already know.
You are listening.
Hell yeah.
This is Sutton House, student housing, and where the blue chairs are on the Rollins map, it says study dock. But literally, I've never seen a book out there in my 20 years. They sit, ironically or not, next to the president's house. So one of the perks of being the Rollins president is this home comes with it during your tenure. Now, because you are my favorite tour of the day and the last group, I'm going to share a quick story with you. When I was teaching at Rollins, I did not know my students' names. I would just have them sign in on the roll call. Now, I didn't know the president's daughter was one of my students until the fateful day when we're paddling by here on our way back, and she stops and announces to everybody, "Hey guys, my dad's out of town this week. Who wants to see my place?" Now, before I could say, "Oh, let's not do that," all 22 of my students pulled up on the shore and booked it inside the president's house. Now, thankfully, they weren't grabbing stuff off the walls. They're good kids. We got some water on the floor, and I was just nervously trying to get them the heck out the door. The funnier part is there was a guy here a couple of weeks ago. I finished that story, and he leans in all serious, and he goes, "Is this why you're driving boats now?" I was like, no, I didn't get fired for sneaking into the president's house. It was actually COVID that did it in the coaches. But anyway, that's one of my Rollins College stories. There's a few more. You keep coming back and I'll let you in on a few more. But on the next, yeah, that's why I ride the boats now. I'm fired from a job. There's that Anahinga. He just chomped down a fish right here. But you see why they call him the snake bird, because when he sticks that head up, he looks just like a snake, but he's back underwater again. They don't, but there are a ton of bass in here. So freshwater, big mouth bass. This tree, one of the species that they were lumbering, this is called a live oak. And you'll notice it's covered in that gray stuff, Spanish moss. Now, it's not harmful to the tree, but it's usually loaded with chiggers. And if you know what chiggers are, I'm sorry, but they are small red bugs that burrow underneath your skin. So you never, ever want to touch that Spanish moss. Just look at it. Yeah. Now the other stuff that grows in the trees, this is really pretty. It's called resurrection fern, and it never looks like that. It's usually brown and dried out and dead. But when it gets rained on, it resurrects. So since we had multiple hours of rain yesterday, all the resurrection fern is glowing green today. By tomorrow, it'll be back to its resting state where it's brown. Okay, let's lower our heads. Make sure we understand the assignment. Don't you do that. I knew you were the troublemaker. I could tell with that swagger she gave her. She owned the place. Oh, the queen has arrived. Everybody step aside. We got her anchor.
You already know.
Oh my goodness, my face is breaking from smiling so hard. I was going to show you that tree, but we went by it. It's pesky. Now I can't stop laughing. All right, compose myself. All right, that tree, 350 years old, one of the species that they were lumbering, the live oak, the southern pine, and the cypress trees. Cypress trees are protected. You can't cut them. But this is their root system right here called the cypress trees. They're an above-ground root system. Now, when I was a kid, I was looking to maximize their water views. So James tried to accommodate them with location and build. This spot is actually a small peninsula that juts out into Lake Osceola. And that build style, it's called Bermuda. And if you notice, all the windows are extra large bay style. So what he was trying to do with placement and build is give them wraparound views of Lake Osceola so that no matter what direction they looked out from their house, they would see water. Now, up until about 10 years ago, they were the only home on that peninsula. They sold off this chunk on the backside, and now there's a big house there. But prior to that home being there, you could literally look out the back and the left of their home, and you would see the backside of Lake Osceola. There's one of those anahingas posted up right there in that scarecrow pose there. All right. This little cove back here has a bit of notoriety. This was known as Gator Cove. And sometime in the early 70s, certain city officials asked FWC, which is Fish and Wildlife, to come in and trap all the gators and remove them. We were transitioning from agriculture, there were orange groves all along the banks, to full-on residential, fully built out. Now, north of us in Seminole County is a lake called Lake Jessup. Alligators that aren't harvested are re-owned to that lake. Currently, more than 13,000 alligators in Lake Jessup. Well, that was the fate of the Winter Park alligators. More than 100 relocated to Lake Jessup. Now in front of us, another old logging canal, and on either end of it, 2 James Gamble Roger homes. These built in the 50s, and they're both around 4,100 square feet. But hold on, check this out. This home, 10 times the size of these two. 41,000 square feet. So literally 10 of those homes would fit inside of this guy here. But my favorite part, the backyard, of course. And if you look on the left side, you'll see that full-size statue of the elephant. Thank you, filling in the blanks. Normally my wife does that. Now in the middle, you can see a blackbird there. A little harder to see, but that is an original by, right by that little pillar thing. That is an original by Colombian artist Fernando Botero. Botero! Did I say it right? Okay, good. I work hard on that pronunciation. That is his signature. Now, beyond the blackbird, you'll see some water flowing right there. But the fun part is where the water is coming from, and you'll see it in just a second here. You'll see it first. Look for where the water is flowing. Like a big ass fountain. Yeah, faucet. Did I say ass? Sorry about that. Speaking of that, these folks have a statue too. This one is called Southern Assets. Ah, ba-boom pop. Look at that. Isn't that something?
That's amazing.
All right, here is the crown jewel of the whole tour, the Venetian Canal. Really lush, lots of vegetation. But on the right side here, the homeowners have been working on orchid grafting. And you'll see they've been tying them into their cypress trees up here on the right. Now the first batch isn't really catching that well, but the second batch closer to the bridge, oh, they're popping. Oh yeah, they be popping. But look at these right here. All right, and then right here, a whole bunch of them. Plus the little bear, they've been grafting small bears onto the tree as well. All right, watch your heads there, biggins. On my side anyway. Now this one has a lot more leaves and stuff leaning in, so if you get one to the face, my apologies in advance. But there's a little